Everybody, are we having a good morning so far? All right, it's just a little nerve-wracking to do this right after the high-powered authors bid. No pressure whatsoever. My name is Quinn Ward, and this morning I'm going to talk to you about increasing your profits through optimizing your backlist. Because this is really, where Elena said, if you're working harder than your books, you're doing it wrong. Your backlist is what's going to make you the majority of your money over time. And too many of us make mistakes that we wind up leaving money on the table. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So at first, a little bit about me. I started out writing how-to articles. I needed something that I could do from home when my kids were little. And if you need to know how to put together a crib or change the oil in a car, I've written an article about it. All right. And then one of my good friends said, "You're wasting your talent. When are you going to write an actual book?" And I'm like, I was challenged. She dared me. She knew I can't turn down a dare. And so that's where I started. Then for the first half of my career, which I wrote my first book in 2012. And that means that I was publishing my first book right when, in romance, it seemed like every author who put out a book was hitting the bestsellers list, and they were, getting all these deals and making it big. So I was going to do that too. Okay? Didn't happen. But I kept trying the exact same thing for about the first half of my career. And then, it was in 2019, we had moved to North Carolina. I had gone from full-time writing, because we had 3 adults in the house, to part-time writing, because we had 2 adults in the house, and the other adult was out of work, so I had to go and get a job. Well, now my writing is down to almost nothing. And my kids are getting older, and I had to make a decision. Okay, it was the worst income level I was ever at, and I just didn't have time. And so it was time to do it or get off the pot, as they say. So then in 2020, I hit 6 figures for the first time. So this is a year after I said I have to either do it or get off the pot. And through looking at my books as products, and where nothing at all is sacred in my books anymore. There's nothing sacred. Not my covers, not my back matter, my blurbs, my keywords, none of it. And then with running Amazon ads as well, just Amazon ads. Broke 6 figures in 2020, and then did it again in 2021, proving to myself it wasn't a fluke. You can do this repeatedly. And so now, through Author Ad School, I'm coaching other authors on how to do the exact same thing. So what you're all here for is, what are you going to learn about? And that's that everything after the end is just as important as all the pages they read before. And you're going to learn about the one place in that back matter that I firmly believe is more important than anything else. Because, there's a lot of filler, and we put things that we think are important, but you really have to sit down and assess whether it's important or not. And you're going to do that by being the guide to your readers. Your readers trust you. When they get to the end of a book, they trust you to know what's going on, and they want you to tell them where to go next. And I'll also tell you how we go wrong with doing that. And then not all things are created equal. Set the intentions, and this is important. Set your intentions for what you want them to do and where you want them to go to give yourself the best chance of long-term success. All right? So diving right in, we've hit the end of the book. Now what? This is the hottest moment for any reader. They've read all the way to the end. Very few readers read that far if they didn't enjoy your book. Okay? There are some, we're not including them in this. Look, if they want to punish themselves by reading something, I don't have time for that. So now, you get to tell them what comes next. And if you ask them to turn the page, you're giving them an invite to go about their day. Especially if you wrote a really good book where they've lost time. The kids are now asking for food, and, I have to be up in 3 hours to go to work, things like that. Every time you tell them to turn the page, you're saying, hey, you can go do those other things that you've been forgetting about. And then the other thing is, don't actually say the end. Okay? When you say the end, there's no more. You don't have to look at anything beyond this point. So by effectively creating the back matter, we're going to lead them to the next place we want them to go. And the order of importance, you'll probably hear me say this a few times today, there's an order of importance to knowing how to maximize your chances of increased sales. So this is an example of early Quinn. And this is a moment where it's a great ending. This is a cliffhanger ending, no less. Okay, so a lot of romance readers are not going to be happy with this. And I didn't tell them where to go next. Not at this point, not anywhere else. So even if you finish with a massive cliffhanger, or even if you don't finish with the massive cliffhanger, tell them how to get the next book easily, because what you want is them to jump right into the next book. Okay, when e-readers were new, a lot of people, that's how they got into reading digital format. Back when everybody was still saying, I will never read an ebook, right? I want the paper, I want to smell it, I want to feel it. And then I end a book at 2 o'clock in the morning. And now you can't get the next book because nowhere is open. So give them that next place to go. So with this one, I relied on them, the readers, to go and hunt down the information about the series. Did they? We don't know. But I can tell you, this was book 2 in the series, and book 3 in the series didn't sell as well. Now, was that because of a cliffhanger? Was that because I didn't give them the place to go? So what I like to do is say, where do you belong? This is the most important link. This first section. And what I do is you can see that there's a page break, or a section break. Ornamental break is invalid. And then jump right into, if you will only click on one thing, what do I want that one link to be? In this case, it's the next book. I want you to go to the next book. 9 times out of 10, that's my place. I want to keep you reading. And rather than just saying, hey, go get the next book, or click here, or even worse, the title of the book and a raw link, okay? Don't do those. Think about, for those of us who are old enough to remember before we had DVRs and cable and everything, remember how primetime dramas always ended with, on the next episode of, okay? And they didn't tell you what was going to happen in the first 10 seconds of the next episode. They were going to give you a moment that was in there. And it was going to be a moment that had impact and made you want to tune in the next week. So that's what we're going to do here as well. And this, I've actually changed how I do this part just a little bit, because now instead of giving them on the next episode and then say, read the book, I will say, read the book, or pick up the book, something like that, to find out, if Jason will stop beating himself up, blah, 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 blah. Because that way I've got that call to action right at the beginning. And that call to action, don't use click here, please. Okay? Click here is, don't use click here. Yep. Because that is, it's like, you're telling them what action you want them to take. And yes, I want you to click, but that's not the action I want you to take. I want you to start reading it. I want you to buy the book. Something like that, that's the action that they're taking. And everybody at this point, we've had the internet long enough, they know what to do when they see the line, right? We all know what to do if we see underlined text. Okay, good, just checking. All right, so back in 2000, the average consumer could maintain their attention span for about 12 seconds. I like the people that are laughing, because that's not me. By 2015, it had dropped to 8 seconds. And every year since then, it's gotten even shorter. And I have a feeling that, like, the pandemic, 2019, 2020, 2021, that went down to about 0.2 seconds, right? Because we're all just scrolling mindlessly. But in doing that, we're training our brains to not pay attention to things. So this means, see, and I'm being generous here, you have a couple of seconds to grab your reader and tell them where to go. And this optimized back matter reduces the decision paralysis. So remember I said I'm going to tell you the mistake that we all make. How many people have, books by, or other books by, or also by, something like that? Okay, now, how many of you have anything more than the title of the book as your also by? See, so some people are doing good. See, you brought up a point. You have your cover. But that doesn't necessarily tell them about your book, right? Because they already know what type of books you're reading and everything, or you're writing. And so it's not really, it doesn't tell them, I don't know what tropes are in your book. I don't know if it's the same characters as the book I just read. I don't know any of that. Because all I have to go on is a book cover with a road and a silhouette, right? That's all I've got. I don't know anything about the book. And so as our backlists get longer, we give people this long list of books and say, here you go, pick one. And you don't know which one to pick. And so are you gonna randomly pick one? Or are you gonna just close out and go on to the next thing? So by doing it this way, we're showing them, this is where you go next. I know these books, and this is the book you're going to love if you like this one, okay? So this is where we talk about the circle of life for our readers. Keep them in your backlinks. Don't let it get to where they get that pop-up screen where they can leave a rating and then they cannot. Amazon might give them an ad for another one of your books, but it's also going to start giving them ads for other people's books. Keep them reading your backlist as long as possible. So what we're going to do over time is create a full circle. As we optimize, every one of our books is going to lead to another book, even at the end of a series. At the end of series A, go to series B, D, E. I don't have an F, where do I go? Go to A. Because that way, the person who reads through all of them, they'll know when they get back to the beginning. And then you can just go in, and when you have series F, go lead into that, okay? And I had one of my students actually sat down, and the best thing ever, they sat down and made like a map of, if you like this book, these are the other books you're going to like. Because that way, they were able to look at this and decide, from this book, what do I want to link to? And if you write in interconnected worlds, where there might be characters from one that go into another, don't forget those connections. And always say, or even if you have an Easter egg where somebody just makes a quick appearance, hey, do you remember so-and-so? Go check them out in this other book, because now you put them again. You might wind up with more than one circle, and that's completely okay. A lot of romance authors will create circles for various tropes. So if they've been writing some billionaire romances, that might be one circle, is just billionaire. And then rock star might be another circle. Sports, another circle, and so on and so forth. But then you can always kind of branch off those circles and make it look like a little cube, right? By looping it over to something else. And always keep them in your series. And in this case, we're taking In Case You Missed It and overcoming the fear of missing out. Okay? So what is that order of importance? When you create your links, or create the links to your back matter, it's more than just throwing links on the page. That's the last thing we want to do, is just throw stuff up there and hope that people are gonna click on it. So when you're doing this, the first question you ask is, if I can only get one click, where is it going to lead? If you're gonna get 2 clicks, what would be the next click you want somebody to do? What is that next action? Now for me, these are typically going to be my next book and my newsletter. I might flip-flop a little bit depending on if the next book is out, how long until the next book, so on and so forth. I might put my newsletter first, but it's going to be one of those 2 links. And if you're hoping for 3 clicks, just slow down. Okay? I want you to think of how many times you've been in your Kindle, clicked on a link, gone back to the book, clicked on a link, gone back to the book again, and clicked on a 3rd link. Okay? Most of us aren't going to be that lucky. Now I will, just in case, and just in case somebody is reading through, I will put those moments where the secondary characters, or the interconnected series, I'll put a link to those, or other books with the same tropes or the same theme. I'm not expecting to get many clicks on those, and because of using Author Helper Suite, I know that I'm not getting many clicks on those. The majority of the clicks are coming in those first 2 links, all right? And so here we want to make every single one of those clicks count. So the first is clicks for read-through. If read-through is your goal, compel them to read what's coming up. So this is going to be on the same page like I showed you before, because otherwise we're risking either them closing that book or Amazon popping up. And if they don't, see, I was smart when I built this. If they don't close the book, Amazon might show them the ratings page, at which point you have lost control of their journey. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. Hopefully they leave you a rating at least, right? Maybe a review, go on to the next book, or they're gonna X out of it, X out of the book, go on to something else. And then, like I said, no links without context, ever. Whether this is your newsletter, the next book to buy, whatever, always give them context. Think of it like you're creating an ad. If you were creating an ad to put on Facebook, you don't just throw up a link, okay, and say, buy my book, right? You're gonna tell readers what that book is about. So this is what I like to call, welcome to your next read. So as soon as the story ends, the first thing the reader sees here is an invitation to the next book. And if the next book features a side character, be sure to use that. Readers are emotional beings. They're connected to the story. And so in this case, curious about the other ghost in Connie's house. Well, I'd be willing, this is not my book, this is somebody who let me use their back matter, but I'd be willing to bet that we learned about a ghost in Connie's house in this book, right? And so now we know there's another ghost. And so now we can try to lure the reader in that way. And then the call to action. Like I said earlier, click here is commonly used. It's not the best one. I'm not even gonna ask the question of, is it the best one? It's not, okay? And then again, what do you want the reader to do? In this case, grab your copy of Changing Locks, book 2, so then they know that this is the same series as well. We have given them every bit of information they need to go on and see more information. So some of the ones that I like, start reading, pick up, dive into, or if you're not feeling particularly creative, you want them to read the book, right? It's okay to say, read this book title, and they'll know what to do. So the next is, can we keep in touch? If building your newsletter is your priority right now, let's say you don't have a book 2, you don't know when book 2 is coming out, so you can't put a pre-order up for it. Maybe you want to build your newsletter so that you can then get them to pre-order the next book when it comes out. Don't put this way in the back. I see so many authors who have their newsletter sign up is way at the back of the book, after all the other stuff, right? How many times do you get to the very last page, if there's excerpts or bios or anything like that? Most of us don't, because we don't have the attention span, right? That goes for all of this stuff too. So if you're torn between, do I need to build my newsletter list first, or do I need to get the sale? If you're truly like 50-50 here, you don't need to worry about which, because you can build that connection and then get the sale. If you don't have a newsletter, do it. Do you remember that first half of my career? Okay, guess what one of the mistakes that I made was? I didn't have a newsletter. And then we moved into we need to have a newsletter phase. And so we put a link back there, but I didn't really give them any incentive. I didn't tell them what they were gonna get from me. I just said, sign up for my newsletter. Hint, that doesn't work. Not effective at all. So then, this is what I'm talking about here. It's all about give and take. If you have something to give your reader, they're much more likely to put over their email address. And think of this as their email address is as valuable, if not more valuable, than money, right? How many people do you want to give your email address out to? They're paying for whatever you're giving them with that email address. But then I do say here, not all reader magnets are created equal. And please don't think they have to be 50,000 words or more. You see people talking about giving, claim your free book, or claim your free 7 stories, or whatever. And you think, that's a lot, right? That's a sizable chunk of my time that I could be writing something I'm going to get paid for. First of all, see previous statement, you're getting paid for it in email addresses, so that you can then reach out to them and sell them more books. Okay, so don't look at it as not getting paid. But also, don't feel like it has to be a full-length novel. My shortest is about 2,000 words. My longest is about 11,000 words. And that one that's 11,000 words, it actually, because of the characters in it, I was able to make it be the reader magnet for 2 different books. Okay? Just quick tips. Bonus scenes. If you delete scenes from your book, alternate points of view, things like that make great reader magnets. In addition to maps, character bios. If you write cozies, recipes, right? If you talk about food in your books, give them a few of the recipes and they will just grab it. One cozy author I know would do quilt block patterns because she did quilting cozies. And so she put you could sign up, you got X number of quilt blocks, and then she would every once in a while send out a new one. And the cool thing with that is then readers started making the quilt blocks, and they'd send them to her. And she used that in the newsletter, okay? And so it became this circle where she was building a community, sorry about that, and showing off each other's work. And then when you're building this link, tell them why they want to click. What are they going to get? So there are 2 things here. On the left side, you have the old call to action, right? Sign up for my newsletter for all the coming updates, as well as some deleted scenes I'm working on putting together. I'm not giving them anything in the moment, other than a promise. The other side, wondering what the future holds for Mason and Sean, the characters from that book. Claim your copy of Grand Slam. I always title, no matter how short it is, when you sign up, to see why Mason is the last person who should be left to plan a wedding. There may have been inflatables involved, okay? But they know this because they know Mason at this point, and they know that he's a clown. And so they know that there's gonna be shenanigans at their wedding. And so everybody wanted this scene. They wanted to see what happened at this wedding. So you probably, hopefully, please tell me you wouldn't go up to somebody in the bar and ask them for their phone number as a way of introduction, right? Please? You're thinking really hard. You won't do that. Don't do that. Okay, thank you. So don't do it to your readers either, okay? Tell them what's in it when they join. So don't be the Quinn on the left, like the Quinn on the right. And this is the point where everybody's like, wait, but you're missing other things, right? I haven't mentioned reviews. I haven't mentioned a lot of things. We're gonna get there because we're being strategic now. A review is nice, money's nicer. Okay? Just saying. I mean, I like money more. I can't call my landlord and say, I have 25 new reviews. Here's the rent. I tried it once. So there are multiple places we can encourage our readers to leave reviews. It's not on that page. We'll get to a couple of places where you can leave them. And this is where I say, make mom proud. Okay? You remember how we all got hounded about pleases and thank yous and everything else. The first thing I do when they turn that very first page, when I've finally gotten them to where they can turn the page, it's okay now, is a thank you note. because they just gave you their time. They gave you their money and their time. So before I ask them, because we've already asked them for 2 favors, right? I've asked them to go buy a book. I've asked them to give me their email address. So now I'm gonna ask for a 3rd one. So before I do that, I'm gonna tell them how much I appreciate them. And then along with that, now I'm gonna work in that subtle review request. And please, remember who our reviews are for. I see so many authors who say, can you please help me by leaving me a review? The review isn't for you. And really, it's not our readers' job to build our business. It's not their job to get us the next sale. We hope that they will. But really, with reviews, it's all about readers helping readers. How many of us get sales because one reader really liked our book and they go and tell somebody else? That might not be an Amazon review, but it sure is a review. So then here, again, we're connecting. No matter what you write, connect to the story. Emotional creatures. So in mine, I will always include the name of the characters. In thrillers, you can include something about the crime that was solved. Figure out a way to connect it back to the story. So if you loved seeing their relationship grow, let your friends know, right? And then, again, help other readers. Don't help me. Help the next reader fall in love with this couple. And ask them to send a copy of the review, because really, you can go ahead and use that review that they sent you, and you can make graphics, or you can share it in a social media post. And then that's more social proof to show that it's not just me saying my book is good, like these 12 other people also enjoyed it. And so, again, this page, we're working to subtly connect them to other readers, building a community. And then at the bottom there, this one I'm not as worried about. This is just one last ditch. Hey, go ahead and sign up. Oh, I think we're done. That's the end of it. You know? But seriously, that is all I will put in my backpack. That's it. I don't do the also button. I don't do images. Because images, not only, if you have, let's say you have a big backlist, and now you realize your covers stink, right? But you put your covers in the back of 15 other books. Now, you either are going to go into the back of 15 other books and change up the covers. You're not going to, okay? Hint, we're not going to, we always forget that. And then you wind up with outdated covers that really stink. And at some point, you're going to go into them and oh man, I forgot to change it in this book. I'm not going to do any of that. Excerpts, I personally don't do. If you do them, do it as a cliffhanger again. Going back to the primetime dramas are not going to say, here's how the next episode starts, right? They want you to have that moment where you're like, oh my God, I see that. They don't have to be long. You know, with thrillers, it can be the moment leading right up to your present. With romance, it can be the moment leading up to the meet cute, or something embarrassing or awkward. Go ahead and use an impactful moment. It also doesn't have to be long. Remember, you cannot have more than 10% backlink. So don't go with a 5,000 word first chapter as your excerpt. For one thing, most people aren't going to read it, because now they have to read it to the end in order to get another link to go buy it, right? And once the book is out, they're getting that first 10%. They can get that as a sample. So we really don't need to.
They didn't turn on the software.
All right? So now I finished, I'm telling you, I always feel like I'm going to finish super early or super late. But I finished about right. We've got about 15 minutes for some Q&A time. And I think, is the microphone up and running? So can people just go to the microphone? Do we know? He wants the first question. All right.
Well, no, they're not microphones in this.
So that first page,
Yep.
You only give them one choice.
I will give them two.
Okay.
I clipped it just to be a little bit, pared down for this, but I will give them two. It is going to be buy my book and sign up for my newsletter. Both of those will be there. It's a matter of which comes first. All right?
Hi. As you write more books and redo your circles, how often do you go back and edit your back matter?
I almost never edit more than the previous series because I've created a circle, so I basically just have to go and add another link into the chain. And so that's the other thing is with that also bots page, right? As soon as you release the next book, unless you update every single book, it's now outdated. And so that's another way to avoid having that happen.
Thank you.
So if you are a new author and you don't have a backlist and you have, say, a reader magnet, and then you maybe have one book that you publish or possibly two, especially one, so what would that look like?
When you're new, then it's okay to have one. If I don't have two things to link to, you can have one. I'm just trying to get them onto your newsletter list. Another thing is, remember that Amazon allows you to put a pre-order up for up to a year. If you can get the next book done in that series within a year, put the pre-order up. You don't have to have the finalized cover. You don't have to have the finalized blurb. I accidentally learned one time you can have a duplicate cover, you can have like a keyboard mash for a blurb, and the wrong title, and that Amazon will still allow to go through. And people will pre-order it. So I really wonder how much attention my readers were paying. It was like, it's a good ego boost to have them go ahead and grab it, but it's like, that was the last book's cover, there's no blurb, and it had the wrong title. So if you can, get the pre-order up for book two, because again, that's the hottest point. You have that reader, and you don't want them to say, I'll remember when book two comes out. Okay, because that's, probably one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves as readers, is I will totally remember when this new book comes out, except all the other books that are coming out.
And you would say then it's okay to put the image up because...
I still don't put the image up. No, I'm just gonna, however I can hook them into the next book, I always try to have a connection. Whether if it's within a series, it's going to be the characters that are in the next book you met enough to have an emotional connection with in this book. I do that on purpose every time to keep them reading through. And then if it's going into a new series, I'll try and have some form of a connection that I can lure them in and keep them and know that I'm going to deliver on the promise that I've given them with this series. So if it's, I have a small town series, that it will be something about that small town is going to be the lead into the next book.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Hey there. I was just wondering, if you've got an ongoing series and you've got pre-order up, but that book's not out for 6 months, but you also have other series. So, do you want the pre-order, or do you want to send them and get them into a new series?
Typically, I want the pre-order, and then I want the newsletter, and then that's where if you're lucky enough to get the third would be into another series that they might enjoy.
Thank you.
All right?
Hi. This is a question about formatting, and it's based on something that I heard and cannot verify.
Okay.
That when you create a chapter break before you put this link in there, and that chapter break is like the last thing, and sometimes Amazon will ditch that if they consider that better.
I've heard that as well. I haven't personally seen that. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But there's so much about what Amazon does that we don't know for certain.
I was clicking it and it wasn't coming out. I clicked like 8 dots.
Look inside always starts at chapter 1.
The OBS.
Or the page immediately following the table of contents.
Yeah.
It's a menu.
We don't know if that has to be formatted as a chapter or how it can be formatted in order for it to be there. And so it's a bit of speculation, but again, a good reason to not give them a chance to turn the page, just
Try
in
the
case,
OSB one.
right?
See if it changes
so you would put the line in there, put your, on the next episode, put the
Yep.
link, Then make a chapter break and then you're thinking.
Exactly, because you know what? If I can get you into my next book, if I can get you onto my newsletter, everything else I can talk to you about later. Because like with my reader magnets, when they read through the reader magnet, there's back matter in that. And when they sign up for my newsletter, the first step in the automation is going to be, thank you for reading the full-length book, and a subtle request for a review. Okay, so you can get all the rest of it. All right.
Hi, so right now, my book is doing better than print, so how does this differ from print format?
So in print, what I recommend doing is use a QR code to a page on your website. Because that way, right? Man, I should have led with that. That got some attention.
Yes.
Because you
Showing the
can't
menu,
click on a
okay.
link,
So how do we
but you can sure take a picture of the QR code.
we could
But then people are like, well, but what do I put on the QR code? Because I don't want to put a QR code going to my newsletter and a QR code going to the sales page, because they're not going to click on, they're not going to take pictures of 2 QR codes. Okay? So what I do is just onto my website, have a page, have it go to a page that's going to have the next book, and I might even entice them by giving them an exclusive little excerpt of the next book or something if they click on that QR code. Because then I can send them the link to the Amazon page, I can send them the link to the newsletter sign up, and so on and so forth.
So do you recommend the website or more like a link tree type setup or both?
I typically just do my website, so I try to, because I have more control, I can have more input into what I'm putting on the website, right? It doesn't just have to be a link tree. So I will put, again, tell them why you want them to take the action you want them to take. And with a link tree, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's pretty much a list of links.
Thank
All
you.
right?
Okay, so when I get to the end of my series,
Yes.
this particular series, generally I'll pick another series that's similar,
Yep.
either one that's coming up or one that exists. So for most of my older, my backlist, I have box sets. So does it make more sense? I mean, generally I would rather them get the box set because they're in KU, they're gonna have, get through all the pages versus just one book. But is there a reason why I should do just the individual book?
There are a lot of people out there who don't do box sets. Like readers that don't like box sets. They want to have that one book. I want to look down and see I'm at the 50% point of this book. Not to mention, how hard is it if you're reading a box set and it's 2 in the morning?
Does it ever stop?
Well, no, you don't know. Like, it's gonna say I'm at 8% of the book because I'm on the first book in this box set, right? But what if 8% is really 80% of the book? Well, now if I know I'm at 80%, I'm not going to bed. I'm staying up, I'm reading the book, and I'm regretting my life choices later. So, I mean, really, in your box sets, go to box sets when you can. And your single books, go to your single books.
Okay.
All right?
I actually have a question about the box sets.
Okay.
Does your strategy change if you are having back matter on your box set?
So the back matter in my box sets, I will only do it at the very end. I don't want anything in between the books at all. Okay? Even if it is bonus content that I didn't put into the box set that I want them to download. Because, like she was saying, when they're reading the box set, I just want them to keep reading the page. Right? I want one page right to the next. I don't want anything slowing them down and saying, this is the end of book 1, you can go to bed now. I want them to go straight into book 2 and regret their life in the morning. And then at the end, I will put the links to all of the bonus scenes and everything. Or I've also seen authors that will do a link to a page on their site that will have all of the bonus content that's available. And so that's another thing that you can do there. But then again, where do you want them to go after this box set? Okay, they're never gonna reach the end with you. Because you're gonna, at the back of the box set, you're gonna tell them either the next box set to go and read. If you don't have another box set, obviously then just say the next series or the next standalone. Just something to keep them reading. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. I
didn't hear you mention where we put the author bio or about the author was.
So the author bio, that can go after this author note. Then I'll put the author bio last. So that is one last thing after that. And when you do an author bio, even if you're super private, make a connection with them. Okay? People know, if people know one thing about me, it's that I drive a Zamboni. This has nothing to do with my books. Nothing. I have never written a hockey series. I've never written people ice skating. But when you lead in your bio with that I'm a Zamboni driving parent, I'd be willing to bet I'm the only person in the room that can say that. And so that leads to people reaching out to me with Zamboni memes and, you know, funny pictures and everything else. So, and it also gives us something to talk about. And it also gave me a video. I might have one Halloween decided for Facebook really, but also for the kids at the rink to dress up as Deadpool. Found out that you can't actually drive the Zamboni in a Deadpool costume, so I had to ask somebody else to drive it for me. But we came out and we did, at every single rink, we went rink to rink, riding on the Zamboni, dressed as Deadpool. So, you know, but I did that and shared that with my readers, even though it doesn't have anything to do because it was a connection.
Quinn, first off, thank you very much for this. Doing a lot. When you're looking at back matter, you've got both print and you've got your ebook, and you're looking at print being in KDP and Ingram Spark, et cetera, Lightning Source, whatever you want to use it for. And you've already got a series out. Do you recommend actually doing this for the print along with the ebook? I mean, it's easy to translate everything back in an ebook, but getting print becomes a bit trickier.
If you can, okay, if you're going to get charged to re-upload the print, life will go on if you start where we're at now. Okay. And your next book is the first one that you do that in. I don't want anybody incurring more costs in order to do this. So the same goes if you have a super long backlist. Just focus on moving forward. Moving forward, first in series. Whenever I'm optimizing, that's what I'll do, is I'll focus first on the first book in the series, because those are my entry points. And then I'll go and do books 2 and book 3 and so on. All right?
Okay, so I have a series that I had to write a little bit of a scene for the next book, because the characters, they didn't know about them. Anyway, it has my best read through, but it's like a full scene, and I think you had said to me almost like a few punchy sentences. What do you think is like the max amount of words we want in that next break?
You know, I would try to keep it 150 characters and under. I really try and keep it short, because attention span. All right? All right.
I have a quick question on author bios.
Okay.
So, 2 different types. Do you say, like, I graduated Harvard with honors, or do you say, I like talking kittens and popcorn?
Which are your readers going to care more about?
Okay, so it should be audience.
Right. Because if I'm writing nonfiction, graduating with honors from Harvard might give me a lot more credibility than my kittens. But if I'm writing cozy mystery,
okay,
the kittens are going to win every time. People like animals. Yep.
Thanks so much. This has been really helpful so far. I'm already losing my voice. But I didn't quite understand the strategy behind, like, if you don't have more series or more books, why to circle them back, like, to Series A again?
Because what if they came in at Series C, right, and then read D and E? We want to loop them back around to A and B. So that's why, because we don't always assume that people are going to start with the first book. You know, every one of your series is a potential starting point. And so we want to make sure that no matter which series they started with, they're always going to see the next one.
That makes sense. And to follow up with that, I was curious too, do you ever promote anything else, like maybe other formats, like, hey, here's the audiobook, or, you know, something?
You definitely can. I typically will save that for my newsletter more often than not, just because, again, 1 click, 2 click, 3 click, you're live. And so where I can get the more guaranteed click is where I'm going to put that.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
All right? All right. We have one more. We can do like one more question, and I see somebody walking over maybe, or are you, okay, no. So she's done, we're done. Thank you, everybody.
We're good? Yeah. Did we?